Pathetically riding the coattails of the Blair Witch Project, which has been old news for a decade now, this film was built off the mind-blowingly absurd premise that the 8th mission of the moon wasn't cancelled, but rather deemed top secret after the Department of Defense wants to send astronauts to place ICBM detectors on the lunar surface in case the Soviets ever decide to attack. Perhaps even more absurd is the filmmaker's decision not to produce this film like a typical sci-fi horror film with a laughable premise, but as an honest-to-God documentary built from the quote-unquote recovered footage of a space mission that supposedly happened. Such a delivery assumes two things: that your audience is brain dead, and that anyone on this planet actually enjoys these terribly fake documentary-style films. Since neither is true, Apollo 18 can pretty much be declared dead on liftoff. Originally scheduled for February 2010, Apollo 18's release date was astonishingly pushed back 8 separate times, with distributor Dimension Films refusing to screen the film for press until it finally came out on September 2nd. In what is obviously his first English-speaking film, director Gonzalo Lopez Gallego clearly has no understanding of character development or emotional investment. It was not until the third act of the film that I actually learned one of the characters' names. And keep in mind, there are only 2 actors on screen for nearly 90% of this entire movie. Coming in at barely feature length, this film still feels excruciatingly long at 86 minutes, with most of the film resembling a bad science experiment on the audience. Everything we're witness to was supposedly filmed by 70s-era film cameras mounted on the lunar craft or held by the astronauts, resulting in countless uncomfortable claustrophobic shots, lens distortion, and film grain, most of which shot on the barren wasteland of the moon in black and white. To say this film was nauseating and visually unappealing would be the understatement of cinema history. Even the editing curiously incorporates way too many shots of the decades-old film unspooling from its thread. Now, I get that the intention here is to make this fake footage look old and damaged, but as a recovered documentary that's supposedly made in present day, wouldn't these hiccups and unspoolings be cut from the final film? There is some semblance of a plot here, when the astronauts discover the remains of a Soviet craft on the moon, destroyed by an unknown alien life form. To think that Soviets actually did land on the moon, and in secret, is an intriguing premise, and one that is unfortunately completely ignored. Instead, we're meant to believe that moon rocks can sprout legs, infect humans, and cause them to go insane.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, let me get a shot of you with the lamp in the background.
Nate, look at this.
What?
Look at this! The flag's gone.
Houston, Liberty. Did you see anything unusual in the Westinghouse last night?
We got some interference and dropouts.
Our flag is gone.
What? Say again.
It's no surprise that NASA chose to distance themselves from this wreck. It's missing characters, purpose, color, an ending, and even a soundtrack. The hokey tagline of the film reads, "There's a reason we've never gone back to the moon." When really, someone should have told the producers, there's a reason that Apollo 18 was cancelled in the 1970s. Do yourself a favor and avoid this film, because apparently, failure was an option. Well, that's what I think about Apollo 18. Now let's see what you had to say about it in the YouTube comments. Once again, here's the Rate-O-Matic to rank Apollo 18. A 2 and a 5. Missing almost everything that makes a movie enjoyable, I thought this film was simply crappy. There was apparently something you liked about it though, and your scores averaged out to an alright.